First thing to do is do a roll call, see if we have a quorum, and then return to the essential business here.
Yes, thank you. Demita Beck-Taylor.
Oh, by the way, everybody needs to actually get on it, and you can't just raise your hand. You have to unmute yourself and say here. And she was here.
I know. Did she wander away?
Maybe she thought, we lost her.
Okay, I'll come back to her. Robert Deal?
Here.
Jennifer Hackett?
Here.
Midori Lockett? Jeff McCormick? Beth Reardon?
Here.
Jason Repsher?
Here.
Lisa Smith? Michael Sullivan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm here too.
Oh, wait a minute. Beth Reardon?
Is here.
I already said here. I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Again, I just want to welcome everybody. Say thank you for coming and attending this meeting today. It's going to be a very important one for us. I'll talk about those details in a minute. As you recall from our last meeting when we did it online, we need to pass a motion about the essential business of Metro government. I'm asking for somebody to pass that motion, and I think Robert Deal has his hand up. So, Robert?
Pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16 regarding electronic meetings, as extended by Executive Orders numbers 34, 51, and 60, I make a motion that the Davidson County Solid Waste Region Board's meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council, and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Thank you, Robert. Looking for a second.
Jason, I'll second.
Unmute yourself. Second. Was there a second?
Yeah, this was Jason. I second that.
All right, seconded by Jason Repsher. All in favor, say aye.
We have to do a roll call vote.
All right, we got to do a roll call. Sharon, will you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Demita Beck-Taylor? Robert Deal? Oh, you've already. Jennifer Hackett?
Yes.
Jeff McCormick, are you there yet? No. Beth Reardon?
Yes.
Jason Repsher. Michael Sullivan?
Yep. Yay.
All right, that's it.
And I say yay too. We have a quorum. We have a yays carry the day. Motion passes. Thank you very much. So welcome for the third time. I'm glad everybody's here. A couple, as I said, we have some really great conversations coming up. Before we do so, we're really lucky to have the acting director of Public Works joining us, Shanna Whitelaw. Shanna, we'd love to hear a few words from you and give us your wisdom.
Thank you very much. Oh, might need some other folks to mute so I don't get tons of feedback.
Thank you.
Those who can. So I have no words of wisdom, but I'm very excited to be here at this group. So it's very kind to welcome me to your organization. I know that John and I had spoken for quite a while, about a month ago, I think it was, or 6 weeks ago. It's been a little while ago. So I'm excited to meet and see you all, I guess is it. I have been the interim director of Public Works now for about 2 months, a little over maybe 2.5 months, started 1st of August officially. My background is that I come from Metro Water Services, so utilities are a good thing. So Public Works and water work a lot together. So I'm always thankful for that relationship and hope to build it more as we move forward in the future. My background is that I spent the first 14 years as an engineering consultant working here in Nashville. Part of that was I spent right out of college, I had the wear the white hat and save the world environmental plan in my engineering services. And I worked for a company called Interstate and did a lot of solid waste management plans and stormwater plans. I dove in dumpsters for the Navy in order to see how they could improve their recycling plans. So I got a lot of good little trips out of that. I got to go to Scotland. I got to go to Gitmo, and also got to go to Texas in the hot heat of the summer in order to dive in dumpsters. So solid waste has been part of my career for a long time, even though I've transitioned more into water and wastewater. So those were good times. Did some landfill capping projects, investigating old abandoned and dumps on Navy sites, as we would say. So I do have some familiarity, but certainly not to the level and extent that you guys do. But it's nice to tie that back in. The last 14 years I've been with Water Services, mainly focused at first on asset management, looking at how do we get the biggest bang out of the buck for our assets, how do we spend our money wisely, looking at capital budget and capital expenditures and making sure things are spent in the best possible way for our constituents and our ratepayers. In the last several years, really focused on organizational and process change. So looking at how do we improve things, strategic planning, working with a 5-year strategic plan, so long-term vision, which I know y'all are all about, which is exciting and dear to my heart too, that we want to know where we are 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years from now. So I appreciate that as well. So, and when I was given the opportunity to come over to Public Works, that's one of the things really wanted to focus on, and I think is part of the task is, where are there opportunities for improvement? Where are there opportunities for us to partner with other agencies, to work with water, to work with general services and some other organizations or departments within the government? The first thing I can say, which I learned more about, and I shared this with Sharon and John earlier, I didn't know how involved trash collection could be until I got here. Y'all might have seen in the news back in July timeframe that we had a little bit of a trash collection problem, mainly due to both long-term growth, but then exacerbated by COVID. Same amount of trash, basically, maybe a little more, but coming from a different source that, you know, was nice when everybody went to downtown Nashville and put all their lunch garbage into a dumpster that some private company hauled off for us to the landfill, but suddenly everybody was at home and wanted Public Works to haul off that lunch and other things to the landfill. So we had a little bit of a capacity issue. Same kind of trash, but just in a different place. So with that, you might have seen in the paper that just recently with council, we've worked for a 5-day reroute of trash collection services to go from our current 4-day to 5 days, which we're really, really excited about for 2 reasons. One being that it'll provide capacity within our collection system, that if we're taking the number of routes we have now and going from 4 to 5 days, obviously you can do the math to know that gives us some growth in our collection service, which is as good as Nashville continues to grow despite COVID, and also provides some kind of balance, I would think, as we continue through the pandemic. If we have, you know, a day in which all the drivers are sick, we're only having to try and recover from a fifth instead of a quarter of trash collection. The other thing that's really exciting is we're taking this opportunity, and really the Public Works staff, I didn't know enough about it, so I have to give kudos to Sharon Smith and Philip Jones and Public Works staff, that as part of this, we are completely revamping our recycling collection program and setting it up for 5-day recycling collection, which currently is just once a month. But we have a goal, and we hope to, as funds, whenever they become available, go to every other week. And so with this, we're setting up recycling program for every other week as soon as funds could be. So we wouldn't have to revamp or anything. It could be simple, hey, we now have funding, we now have the vehicles, we now have staff, so turn the button and hey, one day our constituents can have, that have once a month, can now have every other week, which I personally really need. I am a citizen, and I need every other week recycling because my bin gets filled up and I don't have space but for one bin, so I end up falling the other way. So I'm excited about that myself, if that's a selfish promo just for me. So I hope that y'all will be supportive of our 5-day reroute and know that it'll have some glitches and people will get a little confused for a month or so. But in the end, it will be the long-term, short-term, long-term solution to trash collection for our company. With that, I don't want to take up much more time. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to ask me?
You know, Shannon, I think we probably could have a whole bunch of questions for you that, I mean, you know, everything you just talked about is worthy of a deeper dive with us. And I'm sure a lot of the public who are attending the meeting would like to have that too. I would love to set up a conversation just to dig into some of those pieces, given what, you know, given both where we are with our zero waste plan and the different components of it. As you know, that wasn't the intention of today. So I do want to have that conversation, but I would welcome that we actually set up a time to have just a Q&A with you around all those pieces, because there's a lot there. So
Sure, definitely.
And no doubt we'll have we will be meeting certainly in the first quarter of 2021. Probably still by video, but we will still be, and to have that conversation would be really helpful. And,
sure.
And hopefully you can stick around and hear the conversation we're going to have, because our two main speakers, I think will have a lot of interesting things, information to share. So I don't know if you can, but we would love to have you.
I will be here for at least the next 45 minutes or so. That is for sure. Just listening in and learning. I've got so much to learn, that is for sure.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm really pleased that Janet could join us, because it's, you know, there are some transitions happening, and we don't know what all those are yet. But it'll be, my conversation with Shannon was really very helpful, and hopefully you learn more about kind of where the board, what's the board's responsibilities, and where we are with the zero waste plan, and you know, how we see that as driving everything. So, and that's our intention. So, with that, I think I'd like to turn to first, thank you again, and now turn to the probably not the highlight, but important part is. You know, we had a board meeting back on April 23rd. You have the minutes before you. I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Bob, you have to I recognize, state your name, please.
Michael Sullivan. Motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Michael. And I need a second.
Robert Deal, I'll second.
Robert Deal, second. All in favor, please, one by one. Sharon, you'll need to do a roll call.
I will do the roll call. And Mr. Buchanan, if you can hear me, we're trying to get Jamita Beck-Taylor and Todd Lawrence moved into as panelists. But with that said, we'll go forward. Jennifer Hackett.
Aye.
Medora Lockwood.
Aye.
Oh, good.
Let's see. Jeff McCormick is still not here. Beth Reardon.
Aye.
Jason Rebsher.
Aye.
All right. Medora Lockwood. That's it.
That's it, and me. So, and I'm an aye too. So very good. The ayes have it. We've adopted the minutes from our previous board meeting of April 23rd. Now we're going to turn to the reason why we had to have this call, Dan. I think some of you know, but let me just make sure everybody's on. You know, we know where we all are in terms of the plan. And I just want to thank Jennifer Hackett for reminding me it's a good idea to kind of just do a recap. So I'm going to do a brief recap of kind of where we are. Remember a year ago, a little over a year ago now, we adopted the zero waste plan, which was a 2-year plus effort, a plan that, you know, we had never had the kinds of resources to do the kind of deep dive as we did on that one. And we're appreciative to, you know, to the city for making sure that happened. We have the plan. It covers lots of different pieces. As you may recall, one of the kind of the the backbones of that was actually that to create an enterprise fund or actually create a separate authority, almost like a utility, similar to perhaps water, not necessarily that structure, but something. And so that, that was a driver, but hanging on the plan itself, we had the whole thing about save as you throw, the pieces around food waste. There's some big chunks in there, and that you may all recall that, but we have the plan. There's different pieces happening with it. Shannon Whitelaw talked about what's happening with moving to at least every other week pickup, perhaps. And I think in the previous meetings, we've had Urban Green Lab talk about what's happening with food waste and some of the work that they've been pushing. So while it's there, and some things are happening, between tornado, COVID, budget, things are not moving as quickly as we would hope, but we have it there. The mayor has seen it. As I said, Shannon and I have talked about it quite a bit. We've shared it with other people in the mayor's office. So there's things happening, and that's it's not just collecting dust, and it's not being used as a doorstop necessarily. All 400 pages of it, but there's something important about that plan that we either we didn't explicitly talk about, and talking with Sharon and actually talking with several other people in the community, we realized that the issue about how might our plan affect maybe may have disproportionate effects on different parts of the population, and particularly in low-income communities, particularly in communities of color. We're really, really fortunate that we have one of the country's experts on what we call environmental justice, which Dr. Paget, professor from TSU, will speak to. We have him here to actually help us just educate us a bit more on kind of what the history of issues around environmental justice and waste in the city have been, and to start reflecting on perhaps where we are with the plan, and even maybe considering what if we need to do anything more with the plan. So Dr. Paget's going to speak, and then we've also asked the Urban Green Lab, Todd Lawrence and Patrick King, to talk about. They have just launched an initiative that I think would be good to hear about, as well as Todd and myself were co-chairs of the mayor's committee, co-chairs of the subcommittee on waste for the mayor's committee on sustainability, and and one of the first things that committee did was look at not create new plans, no more planning, but it was what the mayor asked us to do is actually look at, okay, we have all sorts of plans out there, whether it's waste, whether it's transportation, whether it's, you name the plan around sustainability, we probably have one. And he asked, basically said, don't do any more planning. Committee, we need you to come together and give me the best ideas of how we can actually move some of this stuff forward. And the vehicle for that was going to be around the climate action plan. And so Todd, as the co-chair with me, is going to give us an update on that as well. Kind of crossing it over with the EJ stuff. So that's a whole bunch, but we're really fortunate to have Dr. Paget here, and he has prepared a deck, and he is and it's pretty thorough. So please, probably the best thing to do is if we can hold questions to the end, it'd be really helpful, board members, and we'll go from there. So with that, if I'm unless any board members, if you think I'm missing something, just butt in. Otherwise, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Paget. As I said, we're really fortunate to have him. So, Dr. Paget.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Glad to be here. Okay, so am I able to share my screen? Are we doing it?
Sharon, do you know if Dr. Paget can share a screen, or does he have to? You have to key it up from over there?
Daughtry, if you could do that, I appreciate it.
He has privileges.
Okay, so So, Dr. Paget, you should be up there. You go.
Okay. Okay, I guess everybody can see that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly run through. This is a longer presentation. It's 60 slides, so I'm not gonna dwell on all of them. So this is a brief history of environmental injustice. You can see from urban renewal to toxic landfills to brownfields redevelopment to urban mining to green gentrification, quite a mouthful. But that's because Nashville has had a somewhat significant role to play in the history of the environmental justice movement. And so we really cannot, okay, I have to do it the old fashioned way. We really can't leave the urban renewal history out when it comes to perhaps one of the most significant land use changes that has impacted the African American community, and it comes from the root of environmental health. This urban renewal program happened all over the country because from the north to the south, people were living in substandard housing. In the South, for instance, my father grew up in a home that did not have indoor plumbing or electricity, and he lived in a relatively large city in Kentucky. And in many cases, even if a large city had electricity and or indoor plumbing and sewer service, those services were not extended into the African American sectors of the city until I believe it was 1968, the lack of the exact name, the Equal Public Services Act. So there had to be a federal law passed so that African American communities could get some of the same things that everybody else did, even though they were paying taxes the whole time. So these substandard houses were torn down. And again, sometimes urban renewal is called black removal. And it's really interesting because even though these homes were substandard, they were people's homes. Some of these homes people built with their own hands, their bare hands. Some of these houses were born in these houses. They weren't born in the hospital. There were some generations of people born. I know people that can go through their houses if they're still standing and say, well, my grandmother was born in this room and my daddy was born in that room and I was born in this room. So even though the houses were deemed substandard, they were still torn down, not just houses, entire communities. And so in Nashville, the entire area near where the state capitol building is, was a African-American community that extended from there through the Jefferson Street corridor and beyond. And so, we can't leave that out. Of course, we cannot leave out Interstate 40 as it destroyed the Jefferson Street corridor. And most of us know that history. But again, this is, when we talk about the environment, the traditional definition of the environment was one from a conservationist and preservationist perspective. And of course, that perspective came in response to the Industrial Revolution, during which we here in North America cut down every tree, mined every lump of coal, every nugget of gold, shot every buffalo in sight, and fished out every stream until there was this reaction on the part of some that said we need to preserve some of this, or else our children and grandchildren and their children will not know the beauty of this place. And even so, it was somewhat of a selfish, anthropocentric approach to natural preservation. The national parks and forests were not created to save the trees for the sake of the trees or the sake of the buffalo or the bison. They were preserved for our enjoyment. It wasn't for the sake of the environment. So really, when we look at the first part of the environmental movement, so to speak, there was almost a separation between the human ecosystem and the rest of the natural ecosystem. And so that all started to come together. That means the human and natural ecosystems came together during the 1960s, which also we saw engage the civil rights movement. So the environmental justice movement is almost a merging together of those two movements, and that there's a whole history there. I'm just going to focus on Nashville. So in 1973, of course, you had the Bordeaux Landfill. Now, the Bordeaux Landfill is a very interesting case when it comes to environmental justice or injustice. What we'll oftentimes hear is that it's about class. Well, African Americans were disproportionately poor, and so in any capitalist society, those who happen to be poor are going to be negatively impacted by all of society's ills, and it is what it is. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you won't have to deal with trash, garbage dumps, and so on and so forth. But Bordeaux is a little bit different. After the passage of the Housing Rights Act in 1968, in cities all over the country, this was the first time that African Americans were able to move out of communities and into the suburbs, which Bordeaux was at that time, essentially, out in the areas where they had been redlined out of or just downright chased out of if they tried to live in certain neighborhoods. Along comes the Ku Klux Klan or whoever, or some, unofficial racist organization would burn a cross on the lawn. That would be the welcome. And I know many people, many African Americans, that was the welcome to the neighborhood, cross burning on the lawn, or worse, I remember my family was one of those families when we moved outside of Baltimore, when in my first grade picture in my elementary school, there were 4 African Americans. By the time we got to my 6th grade class, 6 years later, there were 3 white kids in my 6th grade class. So in 6 years, our neighborhood completely changed. So if there was an outright physical or verbal confrontation, certainly, the white neighbors or former neighbors, voted with their feet and got out of there. And that happened in neighborhoods all over the country. And so those who were the first to move to neighborhoods like Bordeaux were not poor. This was the Black intelligentsia of Nashville, Meharry professors, TSU professors, physicians, attorneys, many of whom are still in Bordeaux. That generation didn't do the starter house, mid-level house, McMansion progression that we do today, we engage in today. They just stay in those same houses. If you look at the average age of some of those census tracts in Bordeaux or Bordeaux, the average age is 68, 70. That's the average age of some of the census block groups, in Bordeaux. So to say that this was a class issue, that these African Americans moved to that community of Bordeaux in the late 1960s, and then 5 years later, here comes the landfill, to say that that was about class is just not true. It's just not true. This was a clear case that, as most of the literature in environmental justice shows, is that race, not class, is the primary predictive variable as to whether or not a person is going to be living next to a toxic site or an undesirable land use. It's not class. So that's where half of Nashville's solid waste went. And then the other half went to the old Nashville Thermal Transfer Facility, which in 1973 was cutting edge technology, as you can see in this article in the New York Times. This was cutting edge technology. Burn up trash and turn it into energy, waste to energy. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Unfortunately, the thermal plant was notoriously out of compliance with the Clean Air Act. ironically, of the early 1970s too. So maybe the design predated the Clean Air Act. By the time it was functioning, it was always out of compliance with the Clean Air Act. As a matter of fact, well, you can kind of see that cloud. I remember when I first moved to Nashville, and every now and then I would fly in on a perfectly clear day, and the planes would take a route right over downtown Nashville, and I would look down and I would see this cloud. I'm like, where'd that cloud come from? There's not another cloud in the sky. Where'd that low cumulus cloud come from? Well, it was a thermal plant. And unfortunately, right across from the thermal plant was the KC Homes, which is Nashville's largest public housing community. And so that's largely African American women and children. And it also happens to be one of the hot spots for pediatric asthma. And of course, that's just exacerbated by being downwind of thermal. Thermal plant did not vaporize trash. There was some byproducts in the form of ash. And when I first moved to Nashville and I used to drive down 65, I used to live downtown and I would look over. I thought they were volcanoes. I said, I didn't know they had volcanoes in Nashville. There were these huge smoking hills. And I thought, what is this? What are these smoking hills? That was the ash from thermal. It was just an eyesore right next to right next to the original Salem Town community, not the Salem Town that we see now. Totally different community back then. And so they had to deal with that. And of course, the aroma from the waste treatment plant that was there. And then, what do we say? The pathway to hell is paved with good intentions. So at one point, the Metro government said, okay, these ash piles are an eyesore. So the plan was, let's cover them with dirt and plant grass to make them look better. But of course, the dirt came from an illegal soil mine in Bordeaux, where these huge trucks were rumbling through the Bordeaux community, where children were standing out on bus stops trying to get to school. And it was just a mess. So, like I said, sounded like a good idea at first for everyone, but unfortunately, it was a very bad situation for the Black community. Through political action, both the Bordeaux Landfill and the thermal plant were closed down. The thermal plant actually burned down, thankfully, eventually. And then the whole process of what happened to those two sites is really interesting. Keep that in mind. So those sites, the Bordeaux landfill and the thermal plant, would probably be classified as a brownfield. So a brownfield site is a piece of property that either has actual or perceived contamination that prevents it from being cleaned up. So at the upper right hand of your screen is the Marathon Motor Works, which was actually a car plant in Nashville that closed and turned into a rusting, hulking, very unsightly piece of property right beside the Jackson Courts and John Harry Hale public housing communities. Now, today, if you look at the lower right-hand side of the screen, it's now, Marathon Music Works, a very place where all kinds of artists go, and it's completely been transformed. And of course, the community is transformed along with it. And so that site and others were part of the federal Brownfields program, which essentially was a compromise between the federal government and state and local governments on the Superfund program. Under Superfund, a site had to be cleaned up completely to pristine conditions, which was basically impossible and highly expensive. And so a lot of those sites, like the Marathon Motor Works and others, weren't cleaned up. Nobody wanted to deal with no developer wanted to deal with the $300 or $400 million cleanup costs that went along with developing, so they just were not developed. But the Brownfield program allowed cleanup to be done, not to pristine levels, but enough so that you could go there and listen to some music and not live there. And so a lot of these sites were cleaned up in Nashville and transformed through the Brownfields program. And this happened all over the country. But just keep an eye on the left-hand side, keep an eye on that map where you see the Brownfields projects for Nashville. Now, here's what's supposed to happen with the Brownfield site. It's actually land recycling. So now the Bordeaux Landfill is the Bordeaux Wildlife Park. Imagine that. And so this is what happens to our former places where our solid waste went. And the thermal plant is now the Ascend Amphitheater. And the drama behind how this piece of land finally became the Ascend Amphitheater is quite interesting. This was going to be the site for the Sound Stadium. Then, no, we don't want it to be that, and back and forth. And finally, now we have this nice Ascend Amphitheater. And for those of you who are new to town, you really can't appreciate how unsightly and ugly the thermal plant was. It was awful. Waste coming in, waste coming out, waste going into the air. I used to take students to the thermal plant for field trips, so that they would know that when you throw stuff away, this is away. The thermal plant was away. And I had students ask me, oh my gosh, as they held their noses on the field trip, is this all the trash for a whole year for Nashville? And the operator would say, no, this is half of the trash for one day. And their mouth would just drop open after those trucks were just rumbling in there. But we don't have to worry about that anymore, because now, as probably all of you know, we are now in the business of exporting trash, because we used to deal with it internally. But there are like no easy answers. Internally, yeah, we had thermal, we had Bordeaux, but they were both not good for communities. Now we export our waste elsewhere, which probably isn't good for somebody else's community, as you all know. I guess the solution is zero waste. And here's just some other slides to talk about how threats continue in Bordeaux and how, council people stopped another waste facility. I mean, so it wasn't as if everything was okay after the Bordeaux landfill was closed down, after thermal closed down. I mean, this is just one example of many attempts at siting waste facilities in Bordeaux. And fortunately, we have council persons that are like Sharon Hurd, especially, who are Erica Gilmore, and of course, Brenda Gilmore, her mother, who was before her, been actively engaged in this fight. And of course, how can we forget Thelma Harper really rose to prominence through the fight against the Bordeaux landfill. This is White's Creek Quarry. This is another case study. I'm just going to kind of flash through this one because it really is a different kind of case study. I just want to get this movie another time. Here, I'm going to get the three cases that involve race and waste, specifically Edgehill Community Dry Cleaners Brownfield site, Dickson County landfill, and then the recycling center at Tennessee State University. So it took literally 10 years to establish a recycling center at Tennessee State University, thanks to a whole lot of people, including Sharon Smith. And so it started out with in 2003, there was a study by Dr. Paul Mahai, who is one of the foremost environmental justice experts. He's at the University of Michigan. And so his article was Dispelling Old Myths, African-American Concern for the Environment. So the myth was that Black people aren't concerned about the environment, that, that's a white thing. However, Mahai's study, and not just his, others showed that African-Americans, as you can see, were just as likely to be concerned about the environment in almost every aspect, except for recycling. Notice there's like a 20% participation gap between Blacks and whites. So the question was, why is that? Is this? So I actually mapped the locations of Metro's recycling centers. That T is where Tennessee State University is. And so the green R is where the recycling centers are. And without really doing any sort of hardcore spatial analysis, it's pretty clear that where there are recycling centers, there are no African Americans. And at first I thought this was some kind of a conspiracy. You know, this is why we have a low participation rate. We're being discriminated against, or so I thought. We got a small grant to start developing the recycling center. Or the plan was to put a recycling center where that T is. We're going to close the gap. And so we got a small grant. The Kirby program was just underway at that time. And so I overlaid the demographics of Nashville with the Kirby program participation rates and found, guess what? About a 20% gap in the African-American community. But what's also interesting is when we got to places like Green Hills and Oak Hill and Belmead, you know, our wealthiest communities, those communities had lower participation rates in recycling than African-American communities, which would be interesting to study, but I'm working in the African-American community. If somebody wants to figure out why rich people don't recycle, you can knock yourself out. But I was mostly concerned about what was going on in our communities. And our plan was to go out and educate our communities about recycling so that they can recycle and use our facility. However, we soon learned that we weren't recycling at Tennessee State University. So how could we go out and proselytize about the gospel of recycling where we weren't even doing it at TSU? So we had to establish a recycling program at TSU first. And again, it took a lot of work. Started out with a volunteer effort by my students, and we got donations from the state of Tennessee. The Tennessee Department of Environmental Conservation helped us out, and we had lots of volunteers, which isn't unusual. Pretty much every university recycling program was started by students, not the universities, not the administration. It was even the famous one at Middle Tennessee State University was started by students and some faculty members. So after a while, we finally got buy-in. Might see some familiar faces there. We had a new president, we got some buy-in, and we started about the business of establishing our recycling center. And this is when I found out why there really were no recycling centers in the African-American community. After a community has been dumped on with landfills and transfer stations and waste treatment plants and ash piles and toxic air, after they've been dumped on for literally 3 decades, when Metro came and said, hey, would you all like a recycling facility in your community? You know, even though the local government was saying recycling, the Black community heard trash. No, but it's recycling. No, we don't want any trash in our community. However, we were able to tear down that barrier because we were from Tennessee State University, and a lot of the people in the community, either they graduated from TSU, they know somebody that went there. I mean, so our big blue olive branch, or maybe it's a blueberry branch, really got us connected to the community so that on Earth Day of 2008, we were able to establish and open the recycling center at TSU. And we had some bumps in the road, but essentially it came back. We finally got a real recycling program on campus that is still in existence to this day. The recycling center came back after a 3-year hiatus, and I would really like to study what's happening now. I use it all the time. It's a really, really busy center, very busy. The bins are full all the time. Good to see that. And so, like I said, I would like to map the recycling behavior there at some point in time, maybe a graduate student or some other student. That would be interesting. Okay, so from recycling to green gentrification, just a brief history. There was a dry cleaning factory in the middle of Edge Hill, which was a predominantly African-American community, rapidly gentrifying now. The community wanted the land to be zoned, is that 5 minutes? Residential. However, it was zoned commercial. We fought against it because we knew that if Edge Hill Village was to be constructed instead of some single family homes, it would not be something that would be in line with the community at present. And so also there was the case of the chemicals being released during and after the in situ remediation on the site. However, and this is just a bunch of geology, blah, blah, more geology. You know, my background is in hydrogeology. And so that was for the another meeting. But of course, Metro Health said, well, it's going to be okay. But of course, the community wasn't really buying it. Finally, the decision was made that it would be safe to disturb the land. No, wait. You see this story. It says that the development called safe as long as tainted soil. So it was not as if the soil is not contaminated, as long as it's left undisturbed. But how do you leave soil undisturbed when you're building a shopping center? Lots of soil got disturbed anyway. But so here's what we got. And when we say there was a dry cleaning factory, this factory was massive and lots of trichloroethylene, no environmental laws at the time that this factory was operating for literally over 100 years. And right in the middle of this Black community. And here's what you got. You got a coffee shop, a place called Mama Tika, I don't know. And also you had a place where your dog, not you, your dog could go get a massage if he wanted one. Not exactly the type of businesses that people in the community were interested in. And worse yet, I've heard that some of the tenants of this Edge Hill Village have actually called the police on young African-American boys who were walking home from school because they looked suspicious in their own neighborhood. So this is exactly what we were trying to avoid. But this is an example of green gentrification. You get certainly nicer things in a community, but they aren't things that are built for the people that live in the community. And eventually the property values go up. So you can imagine what's happening after this Sand Amphitheater went in and after other properties such as the Marathon Music Works came on the heels of the Marathon Motor Works. So you have green gentrification where you have environmental problems. When you have low-income and African-American communities, they're cleaned up, and the low-income and African-American communities get priced out, so they can't enjoy the new cleaned-up stuff. So, and if you look at this map of places that are gentrifying, they very closely correspond with that Brownfield site map that you saw earlier. So do we have any more time? Or should I stop?
I think we wanted to give you as much time as you needed. I think what did we allocate, Sharon? Was it 30 minutes to begin with?
Yes, 30 to 40 minutes. So we had time for questions.
Yeah. So, Dr. Paget, if you feel like you're at a good stopping point, I would love to open it up and see if the board has any questions. But I'm really, if there's anything else you'd really like to add, please do.
Okay, yeah, I'll just mention that I was going to go into the Dickson County landfill case, sure, which I was involved with from the very beginning. And Dr. Robert Bullard, who is known as the father of environmental justice, eventually, I was the one who actually invited him or asked him to come. He called this case in Dickson County, Tennessee, the worst case of environmental racism he had ever seen. And he's the father of environmental justice. And so I won't, go into this case right now. I guess I'll find this will be a good stopping point.
Okay.
And so if anyone has any questions.
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you very much. This was, I think it was important for us to understand, for those of us who didn't, just have a little bit more of that history of what's happened in Nashville and how it's not just about landfills, that this issue is much more systemic and complex than that. And so I appreciate you giving your time, and I just open up the board. If anybody has any questions, just unmute yourself and just identify who you are.
Hey, I have a question.
Can you identify who you are, please?
Yeah, this is Jennifer Hackett. Actually, I have two questions. One is, do we have a sense of whether or not the thermal plant that burned down did so by accident or by activism? And the second question is, if you could give a brief summary of the threat in 2018 with the Bordeaux Landfill.
Oh, yeah, I think that the facility was just old, and and there was and they were burning tons and tons and tons of trash. So I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, the place was too big for somebody to burn down. I mean, you would need. There's no way. It burned down on its own. I mean, there was lots of. If you've ever been inside of there, you wouldn't be surprised that it burned down. If you saw what was going on in there, and I've been there a few times. And the second question, as far as the actual threat, now the Bordeaux Landfill, I do not. It couldn't have been lined. And so there have been instances where the Cumberland River has actually eaten into the old landfill, and waste has gotten into the river, and they had to go back. And so it's a wildlife site, but there's always a chance that materials could be released. I don't know if they're still degassing methane out there, but I see the little standpipes. I'm sure that's happening. And
It is. There's still methane being flared.
yeah, so it's I don't know. I've been out there once. I haven't had a chance to really tour and experience the wildlife park. I've been around it and near it with students on a couple of occasions. But one of these days I'll probably go hiking out there just to really take a look.
One, just to follow up, I think maybe Todd will touch on this too, is that it actually, because of the methane flaring and the methane that may not be caught but is leaking, it's contributing to greenhouse gases and our carbon footprint here in Nashville, in Davidson County. So Todd may just touch on that more. Other questions? Well, I have one. If no one else wants to jump in, is that with our zero waste plan, I'm not sure how much you've been able to dig into the depths of it, but something that we, when we were looking at it, one thing we didn't, as I said at the beginning, we really didn't think through or have the conversations about. If, given that we thought, hey, this is a plan not to have any waste, to divert everything from landfills. And so in a way, it's like, that's good for everybody. I think what we didn't think through is perhaps things like when we institute save as you throw or pay as you throw programs, that we're actually going to create, a charge for people with waste, that just like with electricity, just like with water, just like with anything else, it can have a disproportionate impact on lower income families, regardless of color. But we didn't really think about that too much. And I don't know if you know much about that, or if it's, it's something that I want to make sure that our board and that we're informed about. So, and, maybe we can have you back or have other conversations about that, but it's something that's, that I've been made aware of.
Yeah, that's there's always some hidden factor that we might not even think about when it comes to waste. When we were working to educate the community, the Black community surrounding Tennessee State University, and get them to participate more in the Kirby program. Out of our focus groups was the fact that, as I mentioned, a lot of the people that live there are elderly, and they said, I just can't roll that big bin to the curb. You know, and I heard that over and over and over again. And so we never thought about that. Like, wow, I never thought, you know, being well, at that time I was younger, but just being, you know, you're just thinking, oh yeah, you know, just don't think, wow, you know, that's just, I never thought about that, you know, my grandmother could roll that bin, but most people, my grandmother was chopping wood into her 80s, but she was different. But most people probably couldn't handle a bin that size, and if they wanted to recycle, it wasn't a matter of not wanting to participate. They were physically unable to do so.
Right. Great. Well, thank you for that. And board, any other questions?
Yeah, Demita, you can go ahead and unmute. I see your hand raised.
Are you there, Demita? I'm sorry, I missed your hand raised. Are we having a technical difficulty, Sharon? You're muted too.
All right, now I'm unmuted. Demita, can you hear us? Oh, you can't hear us. If you email me the question, we can ask Dr. Pageant. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. I got a thumbs up. Excellent. Anybody else?
Yeah, is there any other folks on the board have a question? I see Demita typing. Hold tight, Dr. Pageant. We got a question coming.
Okay. Yeah, I just feel like I'm in class every day.
Is that a good feeling?
I'm used to it. You know, I do the 7-second rule and all of that. You know, and I just say, okay, you know, but there's not going to be an exam after this.
Not immediately, anyway.
No, I haven't received it. Haven't received it yet.
Okay.
No, here we go. Excellent. How was the Superfund sites lead to? How did they lead to gentrification?
Yeah, let me try to answer that as quickly as possible. Yeah, well, the Superfund, the Brownfields program, again, provided a shortcut versus what the Superfund law would have allowed in terms of cleanup. So the Superfund law came out of a time, it came in response to Love Canal, and all the toxic waste was seen as this horrible thing, and we need to create a law that shuts this down completely. So the liability with Superfund is strict. It doesn't matter how contamination got there, joint and several, doesn't matter who, retroactive, and in the cleanup level was the pristine level. And so wound up with a lot of those Superfund sites in court. Environmental lawyers made all kinds of money after Superfund came out. But when the Brownfields Act was created, it allowed the sites to be cleaned up with the type of technology that the Whiteway Cleaner site was cleaned up. So normally at that Whiteway Cleaner site, they would have had to have torn down that whole building and taken everything out of there, which would have cost a lot of money. And so instead, there was some chemicals that percolated into the soil that supposedly ate up all the toxic trichloroethylene enough so that you could have a commercial restaurant or other facilities there and not residential homes. And then therefore the sites got cleaned up. So when these sites got cleaned up all over the country, like I said, they were often not made to be in the same type of residential property, moderate income, low income. Usually you got some kind of nice fancy condo or what you see over there at the Edge Hill Village, or you have what's called a positive externality, I guess you could call it. So you have the thermal plant, which was awful. Nobody would dare build anything next to that facility. Gets torn down, turned into the Ascend Amphitheater. Now all the property values all around that site go up. Who wouldn't want to live next to the Ascend Amphitheater? And now you have property values go up, and people who used to live in those communities get priced out. Property taxes go up, people get priced out. Or if you happen to be a renter, your rental property gets sold out from under because you don't have any rights to the property that you don't own. So that's essentially, what happens.
Everybody.
And so the Brownfield's program has had a lot of offset shot programs in place to try to, mitigate harm brought through Brownfield's development, such as worker trainer programs. But at the end of the day, what you really see is green gentrification, improvements in original residents being forced out.
Great. Well, thank you, David. And I'm just remind all the board members, if you can just mute yourself when you're not talking, this helps with feedback and background noise. Demita, did that answer your question? Did you have any follow-ups? All right.
Yeah, we got a thumbs up.
All right. Any other questions from the board?
This is Midori Lockett. Yes, I actually just had a question and find out if we're going to have access to Dr. Padgett's deck, the slides.
Oh yeah, you can. I think Sharon has them.
Yes, I will put them up on the Solid Waste Board's website and email everybody a link.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Midori. Dr. Padgett, thank you very much for your conversation and for the presentation. Who knows, we might have you back for another confab sometime. But right now, I would like to now have, we also, as I said before, invited the Urban Green Lab to come and speak. And I believe Todd Lawrence may be leading that, but Patrick King is with us as well. So, as I said, Todd will speak a little bit to where we are with the Sustainable Advisory Committee and the waste management piece, but as well as the Urban Green Lab work. So, which is also focused on environmental justice. With that, Todd, are you there?
Yeah, John, can you hear me?
I can. Everybody else, I assume, can too. So that's good. Thank you.
Can you see me?
I don't know.
No, we can't see you.
I'm not sure how to switch that on.
But as an attendee, so there's been a little technical problem here where Todd can't get in as a panelist. So Patrick, I believe, is going to be, if we could allow him to share his screen, then Todd will be speaking and we will move forward with the presentation.
Sounds good.
All right.
No problem.
Is everyone up? Shucks.
Yeah, so Patrick, we want to start with that, with the Word document first, and then we'll go to the
Word
slide.
document. Okay. Can everyone see my screen? Can everyone see a Word document?
Yes. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, so first of all, John, thank you for the invitation to come and speak today to the panel again. And Sharon, thank you as always for your stewardship and the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with all of you again. And waste is a critical topic, not just for Urban Green Lab, obviously for the city as well. So it's always a joy to talk about a very difficult problem and how we can solve that problem for the city. So thank you for the opportunity. And John, just a reminder, I'm going to be talking about two things. First, I'm going to give you a quick summary about the mayor's committee, the Sustainability Advisory Committee, and in particular the Waste Subcommittee and our role in co-leading that together with John. And then number two, I want to talk to you about our work on environmental justice at Urban Green Lab. And just to remind everybody on the call, Urban Green Lab is a nonprofit. We teach about sustainable living. So we're making sure that everybody here in Nashville has a core understanding about what it means to make more sustainable choices that protect our people, profit, and planet. So let me begin with the Mayor's Committee. Again, John and I co-lead the Waste Subcommittee of Mayor Cooper's Sustainability Advisory Committee. And there are a handful of objectives for the committee to begin with. Number one, overall, we want to identify the highest potential mitigation impact actions here in Nashville that could affect us all, and really to also identify the specific expertise of the committee members who are a part of the committee. So the number one thing that we want to do is identify those high mitigation impact actions. The second thing we want to do is provide a detailed list of additional mitigation actions that are on top of the ones we already know, and especially ones that are low cost because the piggy bank is empty in some regards. So we want to find ones that are low cost but high impact and that are enduring over time. The third thing we want to do with the committee is to explore and make recommendations on cross-cutting themes like finance mitigation actions or environmental justice, which we just talked about with Dr. Padgett. And the last thing we want to do is develop a tool to generate and visualize scenarios that achieve those targets. So we've been working with Professor Gilligan at Vanderbilt University to create a dashboard, if you will, that the whole city can really view when it comes to the progress of the mayor's sustainability committee. And the ultimate goal here is to create a climate action plan for Nashville. And the target is 80% reduction in annual greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2050. Again, that's 80% reduction in GHG by the year 2050. That is for both metro government and the community. So that is a shared goal between the two. And by having a climate action plan, we join another 290 cities around the world who have pledged to meet those targets despite the fact that the United States has withdrawn from the Paris Agreement. So this is an ambitious goal and for the committee, and we're proud to be part of it. And there are a number of co-benefits which I can get to in time, but obviously climate mitigation actions don't just reduce the city's carbon footprint, but they also lead to other important co-benefits, improved health, job creation, and reduced inequalities. So that is the mandate of the committee. And Patrick, I'm wondering if you can go to our slides, and I'll share a little bit more about the Waste Subcommittee, which is one of the 5 committees that are part of the Mayor's Committee. So,
all right.
Great.
Can everyone see the presentation?
Say again?
Can everyone see the presentation?
Yep, sure can.
Okay.
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick. Hey, Patrick,
So can you go to the next slide?
When you're not talking, and when you're not talking, we're getting a little feedback.
What's that?
Could you mute when you're not talking? You're getting a little feedback from somebody, and I think it was your mic. I think was on. So.
I am not familiar with the WebEx platform, and I can stop sharing my screen. And oh wait, no.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Patrick.
Great, thanks.
Patrick is so instrumental to our organization in so many ways, and this is another one of them. Really appreciate it, Patrick. So just real quick, here is a snapshot of the 5 committees that are subcommittees that are part of the mayor's sustainability advisory committee. There's energy, green buildings, mobility, natural resources, and waste. And Patrick, if you can go to the next slide. Here, you'll see the just a quick snapshot of what we are trying to convey to the mayor in terms of waste. And John and I worked very closely together with Sharon and a subcommittee of local experts who understand the waste issue in Nashville to identify what our current mitigation recommendations are and what new ones we could add. And we had it easy because we already have a solid waste master plan. It was passed last fall. So we quite literally took all of the core recommendations out of the solid waste master plan and transferred them into our presentation to the mayor. We worked to organize their costs compared to their greenhouse gas CO2e mitigation, and we did a lot of work in that regard. But in sum, if you look at this slide, this summarizes everything that we worked on. If you look at the top blue section, our vision was to create a long-term solid waste master plan, which we have. Of course, now it's time to implement that plan. And our target is zero waste or 90% diversion or more by the year 2050. So, as we discussed in the solid waste master plan, our policy focus areas on the left are centralized waste management, residential and commercial recycling strategies, and of course, food waste reduction. On the right side, you'll see our priority actions that we recommended to the mayor as early as last week. Number one, establish a solid waste authority. We've all talked about that. Number two, implement a save-as-you-throw policy for commercial and residential users. Number three, support a Metro Council ordinance that mandates C&D recycling deposit systems. Number four, support siting of a C&D transfer and recycling facility in Davidson County. Number five, implement a food waste ban. And number six, enforce current bans around yard waste, electronics, and cardboard. In the yellow box below, you'll see some of the leadership initiatives we recommended to the mayor so far. For example, it would be wonderful if the mayor could bring together local business leaders to ask how they plan to contribute to this plan, or convene stakeholders to explore reigniting future local recycling industries now that China no longer buys our recycled material. And then, of course, equity is key. John already mentioned the challenges with save-as-you-throw pricing structures, so we have to be very sensitive to that and aware of how that affects lower-income communities. And then we need to be very aware of lock-in effects or contracts or rules that may penalize diverting waste from the landfill. So this is what we're trying to make the mayor aware of, and through the waste subcommittee as part of his sustainability committee. And this is, in my view, this is great progress, because this is a sign that we're already taking the solid waste master plan that we all agreed on in the fall and pushing it into policy with the mayor. And by the way, the mayor has been extremely open and encouraging to not just the waste recommendations, but all the committee recommendations. We had 20 minutes of his time last week to present to him, but it turns out he spent an hour and a half listening to the presenters talk about how he can help. Of course, a lot comes down to funding, so we're going to have to get creative when it comes to working around working on a shoestring to get some of these things done. But again, we're not just talking about the short term. This is a 2050, 30-year plan, and we're just getting this off the ground. So, John, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about where we are with the waste subcommittee, but do you have anything to add?
Well, I think, Todd, I think this is, thank you. And thank you and Patrick both. I know that you both have been going above and beyond to get not only this presentation, but to do this work. So thanks for that. And also just thinking about, and you may have mentioned it, and if you did, I missed it, but this idea that, just as Dr. Padgett was talking about, there's this is a systems piece and a complex piece. The fact is, we do, by having a good zero waste plan, not only are we diverting from the landfills, but we're actually making a pretty significant, it's not double digit, but a significant reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from our community. And so it's and the how of course, for those of you who know about this stuff, it's like actually how do you put not that we need to, but everybody wants to put a dollar amount on it, right? So what does that mean, and what does it mean for for us who because one thing is that we know when you have global warming and greenhouse gas effects, that cities get hotter more than rural areas. And if you're a person in the city that can't afford to have an air conditioner, or you have to manage heat issues for whatever reason, there's disproportionate impact. So our work as a solid waste board extends way beyond just what we're doing with diverting waste from landfills. And I personally feel really good about that. Whether you can choose how you want to feel about it, but it's a really important issue. And and it just for me, I'm really happy that all of you have worked so hard to get this zero waste plan where it is. So there's my little speech. Todd, is there anything you want to wrap up on, or Patrick, is there anything you'd like to say about anything here before I ask board members for questions?
And and we still have a presentation on the initiative, which we'd like to show you.
Oh, well, there you go. Please. Right. I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question before you leave this slide? This is Jennifer Hackett. Just on number 6, when it says enforce current bans, can you clarify whether or not mattresses are a current ban in the landfill as well?
They're not.
Yeah. You mean there is not a ban on mattresses?
The only bans that Davidson County has are yard waste, cardboard, and electronics.
I don't know what would need to be put in motion to add that to the list, but it seems like since we have a local recycler for mattresses, that maybe should be looked at as well.
So it would require legislation. The other items were added in 2010 when the state was actually, TDEC was considering, there was a committee that made recommendations, and they were actually considering a statewide ban on cardboard. I think it was metal. There was several items. And so Nashville, to be a public works, thought, well, let's just get on it. That was when we updated the solid waste code completely. So it was part of that. And then the state wasn't able to get that through because the state has other bans, whole tires, free liquids, things like that. You're not supposed to put in landfills, but it would require legislation from Metro Council to add that, which is fine. At all of our convenience centers, we accept mattresses for recycling, and we're very fortunate to have a mattress recycler in Nashville.
So Sharon, one question on that: Does the state ban on bans ban us from banning mattresses?
Well, TDEC certainly wouldn't. I don't know if the state legislature would, but that's a good question.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was covered under current legislation.
No. The state prohibited cities and counties from placing bans or fees on, I wish I could remember what they were called. It basically was plastic bags and takeout containers.
Got it. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. If there, unless there are any burning questions right now, why don't we have Todd and Patrick finish the presentation, then we can open up to more questions.
Okay. Thank you, John. Patrick, if you're able to switch to the slide deck. We are on the slide deck. You go to the next slide. That's great. Perfect. So I don't know if Dr. Padgett is still on the call, but Dr. Padgett, if you can hear me, thank you for joining today and sharing more about your perspective. And I'm always in awe to hear your research and insight into this topic of environmental justice. This is important for Urban Green Lab because equity is a major pillar of a sustainable lifestyle and making sustainable choices for our city. I would, ask I guess a theoretical question to the whole group on the phone. How many people do you think in Nashville know what Dr. Padgett just told us about the history of disparity and environmental injustice in Nashville? I'm willing to bet that not a lot of people are familiar with it. I'm also willing to bet that there are pockets of people who are very familiar with it, but there's a chasm between those groups. And so, at Urban Green Lab, we want to make sure that people are educated about these issues from early in life, but also throughout their life, so that they know how they can be a part of the solution to these issues, not just for Nashville, but for the country and the globe. But we suspect that not a lot of people know what Dr. Padgett is the history of what Dr. Padgett is telling us today, and in Nashville. And part of that is because we're not teaching about it systemically as a society here locally in the city yet, and we can. Patrick, can you go to the next slide? So we have teamed up with TSU to create something called the Nashville Environmental Justice Initiative. And the whole goal of this initiative is to grow a culture of environmental justice learning in Nashville that empowers our most marginalized communities. And as Dr. Padgett just laid out for us, there is a need. And there still is a need as the city continues to grow and during this growth spurt in its history. Next slide, Patrick. So I think we all know what environmental justice means, but this is the definition by according to the EPA. And this is something that we want to make sure that Nashvillians know. At the very core, at least to be able to define and understand what environmental justice is, and with a focus on fair treatment and meaningful involvement. So that's very important. Patrick, next. And then, of course, we need to make sure that people know what a marginalized community means. And, for us, this refers to groups of people who are excluded or neglected or discriminated against for a variety of social, economic, political, or other reasons. And as a result, they have unequal access to services and fair representation. Next slide, Patrick. So again, as I mentioned to you, equity is a major pillar, one of three major pillars that are part of living sustainably and practicing sustainable choices. And so you can't protect the environment. We can't protect the environment here at the expense of social equity and economic vitality. It's when these three come together is when we make sustainable decisions for our city. So as I mentioned, in our view, Nashville's challenge is that marginalized Nashvillians have less voice in the city's development, in part because EJ learning is not yet a systemic priority. And so we want to work together with Tennessee State University to educate the general public so that especially marginalized communities are not disproportionately exposed to health and environmental hazards that were outlined by Dr. Padgett. And we don't need to go on to this. We can go over this slide because Dr. Padgett's already covered it. And I think we can also go through these next three maps because Dr. Padgett has already explored these issues for us today. So what we want to do with our partners at TSU is we want to spend a year, before we even start teaching formally about environmental justice in Nashville, we want to spend the next year just doing a baseline assessment about what is the need for environmental justice learning in the city, where does that need occur, and what are the best practices in terms of teaching about equity and environmental justice issues so that everyone can have a good understanding of it. So the baseline assessment is going to be led by TSU, and it has already begun. And it's led by Dietra Young and Sky George, who are both professors at TSU in the Ag Department, and a group of graduate assistants who are helping to lead the methodology. It will include a literature review, stakeholder survey, key informant interviews, trying to understand what the core competencies are of any module that we may integrate in the future, a review of best practices from around the country in terms of teaching about environmental justice. And we're working closely with the EPA right now to build on their Environmental Justice Academy, which they have implemented in Nashville and other cities around the country. And then, of course, compiling data on EJ locally so that we have a central repository of that work. And of course, Dr. Padgett has already begun this work, and we want to make sure that we bring that work to light in places where it hasn't been in the past. So next slide. So our general timeline is, of course, a one-year assessment, but in year two, we'd like to pilot the beginnings of what we're calling an EJ lab. And the EJ lab is simply a learning module that can be applied to any community institution to teach about the basics of the environmental justice movement and how to make more equitable decisions. And then by year three, we hope to expand. But we're really trying to take this very slowly so that we develop good relationships with the community and really understand where those where the pulse is, where the breakdowns are, or where the gaps are in terms of learning about this issue, and how it relates to the city's sustainability. And then, of course, ideally, what we'd like to do is wherever there is education happening in the city or there are trainings, such as in metro government, we want to integrate this EJ Lab module into those current trainings. And so the module would be a flexible learning experience, an interactive learning experience. But education is already happening around the city, and especially in schools. So Urban Green Lab is working with our partners at MNPS to make sure that sustainability is part of the curriculum. But within sustainability, environmental justice and equity issues also need to be a part of that curriculum, and they currently aren't. So we're talking with Ashford Hughes, who's the director of DEI at MNPS, about how we can better weave the thread of environmental justice core competencies into the MNPS curriculum and train teachers how to teach about it. And that's real important because a lot of teachers in Nashville are not trained how to teach about sustainability issues, especially environmental justice issues. So we want to make sure that students get off from the very beginning of life knowing these lifelong skills around equity and inclusion. Some of our future strategies, of course, mimic what Urban Green Lab already does around organizing, training, and connecting stakeholders. And this includes our Nashville Sustainability Roundtable, but it also includes the Nashville Food Waste Initiative. How does environmental justice learning integrate into our work through the initiative? What does it mean to get students involved in company green teams through our Students in Sustainability program? So there are a lot of different creative ways we can include that EJ Lab into our own work, but also roundtables and collective action throughout the city. And look, as Dr. Padgett, I'm sure would agree, everybody needs to know about environmental justice, but there are some folks that we're even more concerned about, and they include investors, people who are looking to invest in low-income communities from outside the city or outside the neighborhood, developers, of course, who are looking to build, builders and contractors, but policymakers as well. And we've been talking with the Metro Planning Office about how to best integrate this type of learning into metro planning considerations. Regulators, of course, foundations and philanthropists, the media, and then most importantly, grassroots organizations that are living and working in those neighborhoods like North Nashville, who need to know the power that they have to be influential when it comes to having a voice in the planning of their neighborhoods. And then these are some of the learning outcomes that we're trying to explore that would be part of our education that EJ Lab moving forward. Of course, defining what sustainability is, but finding out where EJ falls into that. What are key environmental hazards that you might experience in a city like Nashville, especially as it grows? How does this all link to social determinants of health? What are the legal frameworks around development that developers and builders need to know? And how do you engage a community before you break? What is green business planning, and how does that tie to equity? And what does inclusive decision making mean? And this just gets more to our model programming moving forward. I think we've already talked about that, so we can go past that. So ways that we measure success, I think we first need to finish the baseline assessment this year with TSU to figure out how what those core competencies are, really nail those down, and then figure out how we want to measure success. But some potential measures could be, of course, institutions represented, the people that we train, their knowledge gained through pre and post surveys, but then the extent to which they take the next step. And that's real important for taking action. And then, Patrick, if you go to the last section of our slide deck here, this is all about reinforcing commitments. So, what we want to do through the NEJI is to not be, we want to support our current commitments and local goals here in Nashville. And so we're trying to design this in a way that aligns and reinforces the sustainability agenda that the mayor has laid out, that the community has laid out. You can go to the next slide. Here are some of the city policies that the NEJI is designed and meant to reinforce. Of course, the Climate Action Plan, which we talked about a moment ago, the Mayor's Sustainability Committee, which will be ongoing even after the Climate Action Plan is created, the TDEC Materials Management Plan, the Solid Waste Master Plan, and of course, Nashville Next. The NEJI is also meant to support national priorities, which are outlined by the EPA, and here are some of those here. And again, we're working very closely with the EPA to align this with their internal environmental justice priorities. And then finally, all of this, of course, is meant to reinforce our global goals. And it's really important for Nashvillians to know where they fit into these global goals, especially the UN Sustainability Development Goals, the SDGs. And here are a handful of SDGs that the NEJI helps to reinforce. And it's just really good to make that local to global connection, because the actions we take in Nashville every day, at the grocery store, at home, in our workplace, they affect everybody around the world. And we need to make those connections. Here are our partners and advisors on the NEJI. Of course, Tennessee State University is our core partner and academic partner, but also the EPA, the Southern Environmental Law Center, the TDEC, TIRC, the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, MDHA, GNRC, and the Metro Planning Office. GSNF is our marketing firm. And Nissan has provided the core support for the NEJI as of right now. It's a Nissan North America. They also are firmly committed to this issue, and we're grateful for their support. So that's what we're trying to do. We just launched this, and we have a lot of learning to do, which is why we're spending this first year just putting our ears to the ground and asking lots of questions. And bottom line, we want to make sure that everybody here knows what environmental justice means and what their role in justice could be through their respective organizations and institutions. And we want to get to that point where everybody here in Nashville understands what Dr. Padgett has told us. They know that history, and they know where Nashville is going, so that it's an equitable place to live. So, John, that's our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Todd. And I think that was a good compliment to Dr. Paget. There are opportunities, and again, just to reemphasize the board is that waste is our responsibility, and that we both should feel good and know that we have the we have that understanding that it's our world actually is a lot bigger than we think it is in terms of what we our zero waste plan and the decisions we make about whatever. And I'm really glad that Dr. Paget and Todd and Patrick were all able to help us just see some other parts of that. One thing is that Todd gave some acronyms or some pretty big concepts like sustainable, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and many other things. And I think Todd would be great. Probably, I don't know if we need to, if there's something we could post or Sharon to post, but it's just to pay attention, because if you want to learn more about that, there are pieces happening, as Todd said, globally, some in the country, some locally, and lots of different hotspots. But you'll learn more about those as they're going to be bigger as we go forward in the world and in our city. So with that, does any of the board members have questions? I'm going to mute, and if you do, just unmute, identify yourself, and ask away.
Go ahead, Robert.
It's Robert Deal. I know that one of the initial parts of the solid waste plan that's going to be implemented looks like it's going to be pay as you throw. And I would like for you guys to address the potential social injustice of that program. How is it not going to, how will it be equitably enforced?
And I think Todd might be muted at the moment.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Sorry about that, guys. Just a little glitch here. Robert, it's a great question. And I think I was messing around here with the buttons. I think you were asking about how do we reinforce the save as you throw policy in an equitable way. And I think John outlined the core problem there, which is if we're increasing fees for that, how do we, is there a separate pricing structure for different communities that could get into a real difficult, a very complicated scenario. I think, and I don't have the answer to that yet, Robert. John, I don't know if you do, but I think we need to sit down and talk that through, because and see what other cities have done in terms of best practices. I don't know the answer to that yet, but I think we need to sit down and talk about it, because As You Throw has been successful in other cities, and I'd like to know what they have done to get around that challenge. John, do you have any other thoughts on that?
No, not in particular, but I think there's lessons to be learned both within other communities that have done pay as you throw, but really what we're ultimately talking about with waste is making it a utility. And so I think again about what we know that there are programs for water and programs for electricity and maybe gas as well when for low income communities that low income families or whomever is are those do those work? What could work better? There's plenty to be learned. And so Todd, there's another piece of your NEJI work.
yeah.
I think if I would be happy to consider, and I would see, and if the board wants to consider setting up our own EJ working group to come back with some ideas about that too. I think that that's up to the board. But one way or the other would be help. I agree with the question and understanding it better than we do now. It would just make sense.
Robert, I'll say that if we do have Save As You Throw in the future, there's going to be a lot of education to be had in the community about how that works and why it's important. And so when that happens, then we are going to have a lot of education to do. And, I'd love to explore that with you as well. But I think we need to figure out what's happening. Other cities have done this already, and we need to learn from what other cities have done, so we're not recreating any wheels or recreating any bumps in the road.
I really like what Todd said about education, because I think that the key thing is, as we look at treating waste like a utility, is, the more electricity you use, the more water you use, the more waste you throw away, the more your cost goes up, and trying to help people understand how waste does function as a utility, and our usage of it is what drives cost up. But I also think that we'll find that there are programs in other cities that help folks when they do are in need, just like the programs that NES has and Piedmont Natural Gas has for people in crisis and in need.
Yeah, and Sharon, I'm not just saying this from my hat, that my Urban Green Lab, wearing my Urban Green Lab hat, but education is the cheapest strategy we've got, and in a time of not a very strong budget, I think we need to lean more on education. And by the way, prevention is better than the cure. It's the most upstream thing we can do. So the way we control our long-term costs is by training and education today. And I think we just need to get better as a city as educators, so that we can avoid these big problems that we're facing today. If we had taught about environmental justice, and we had taught about solid waste management, we taught about energy conservation 50 years ago, we may not be in the same situation we are right now. Anyway, that's just adding on to that, Sharon.
Very good. Anybody else? I know that we promised to be done by 6 o'clock. We have a few more minutes, a couple things to close up. Demita, are you wanting to ask a question?
Yes, hopefully you can hear me this time.
Hey, we can hear you, yeah.
I did want to circle back to the education component of your presentation. It seems like there's going to be a pretty multifaceted group that you're looking to target, but is there some sort of accountability measure that you're going to be including in the education to hold different parties accountable to ensuring that they've completed that education?
That's a great question, and we need that. And so I think what we've been talking with the Sustainability Committee about some sort of, not enforcement, and the Planning Commission. We've also been talking with them, the Planning Office, about what can we put in place that could compel developers or builders to do before they build, so they can engage the community and really understand the health and environmental consequences of their construction first, before they break ground. And that's a policy area that needs to be recommended and developed. And then what we want to do with the NHAI is then educate institutions about why they need to obey that policy and best practices for implementing that policy for their own institutions. But first, we need to get that policy on the books. And what does that look like? So we've been talking with Linda Bregan, who you may know, who is co-chairing the mayor's Sustainability Advisory Committee overall, about what that could look like. And one suggestion is, making sure that we have a list of the top 5 things that every institution needs to know before they begin developing in a particular community. But I think when we get to the point where we have to have some sort of enforcement mechanism where there is an accountability measure, that can be very challenging. And I think we need it. I just don't know what it is yet. In other words, what can the planning office enforce to make sure that that environmental concerns are addressed in the planning phase, and then communities are engaged in the planning phase before ground is ever broken? And that's a discussion that I think will probably come out of the NHAI, and then we'll educate to that. But you're exactly right. There needs to be some sort of accountability for institutions that are affecting change in low-income, marginalized communities and communities of color. There needs to be something there, some sort of accountability piece, and we're prepared to educate about that once it's done. And we start in my role on the sustainability committee, and especially the waste subcommittee and the National Food Waste Initiative. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to start talking about and suggesting ideas for what that could be, and then educating to it. I don't know, Patrick, do you have any thoughts on that, or John?
I'm deferring to Patrick.
So in regards to thoughts, that is something we've been just really trying to dig into, like how to not necessarily hold folks accountable, but make them, hold them to their word. And working with the TSU students, there are a lot of models out there. One that comes to mind most recently is the, I believe in New Jersey, their governor just kind of rolled out like the strongest environmental justice protection policy in the United States that requires folks who develop in these communities to either build into their development different things. Like different neighborhoods have different issues. So if you're working in X neighborhood and what they lack is an extensive canopy, you have to contribute to that, while also reducing your carbon emissions from the construction of that. So a lot of things are on the table right now, and we're just kind of pulling all those different ideas in to see what can be for us here in Nashville.
And Damita, I think a lot of people are just starting to talk about this. Well, I should say some communities it's been on their mind for a long time. It has not been on the mind of a lot of communities in Nashville. And I think they're just starting to learn to talk about this. And so we need to have a thoughtful analysis of where the problems are. And that's part of what this baseline assessment with TSU is meant to unearth. And then to be thinking about what are some accountability measures that could be put in place. And I would ask the board, if you know of developers, builders in the area who are interested in joining this effort, who can be good translators for the development industry. We welcome that. I've reached out to Mark Deutschman. Burt Matthews has been a huge advocate for these issues and sustainability of the city. Who are these people who represent development, who can recommend what's really going to compel a builder most. And so that's all part of this process, this 1 year of exploration. Who are those people? Where are the pressure points? What can we do to compel and educate for action?
And Todd knows this too very well, and Patrick, but there's the Urban Land Institute, the Nashville chapter, has been doing a bunch of work on diversity and equity issues within real estate development. It's actually, anyway, and there's a bunch of, and Todd knows this, and Todd knows there's a bunch of developers of color who are involved in some of that and are doing some, obviously are bringing a different viewpoint than a lot of the folks who look like me who come to those meetings, right? And so it's really, and that's a place that I know there's crossover. And I would just suggest too, for all of us, I mean, there's other strategies too, but Todd knows that much better than I do. I'm looking for other questions. Any other board, any other questions? I promised 6 o'clock. I think we got 6 minutes. No pressure. No pressure. That's the first time I've seen most of you smile. It's kind of nice to be able to see you instead of have to look down the row, So,
John?
All right. Well, I'm not hearing further questions. I just want to thank Todd, Patrick, Dr. Padgett for the presentations. I want to now move to the kind of the end of this, which is if we have any other business. I don't have any per se right now, although I do want to raise something just to plant a seed that we're nothing to do about it right now. But, as much as it was uncomfortable to hear some of the attendees over the last few months or meetings, basically call me out for being the chair for so long. There's legitimacy to that. And I think that we need to think as a board how we think differently about rotating chairs or a period, a chair being there for 2 years or 3 years, something different than we have now. Because I know everybody's happy just to have somebody do it. But I don't think it's really healthy for the board. I don't think it's the best way to go forward. I'm happy, I'm here. I'm happy to just keep on doing what I'm doing. Jennifer is the co-chair, as you know, and we had a previous co-chair, but he moved out of the county, so he can no longer be co-chair. So that is just something to plan to talk about in a future meeting. If anybody have any ideas just to start with, that'd be great. But I'm just realizing that there's other ways to do our business, and we're doing it now, and healthier ways. So with that, Jennifer, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I think I'm the vice chair, so that might be important in language for moving forward.
Vice chair. Yeah, thank you. But we're all here for a long time. It's 5-year terms, right? I think we're all 5 years. So.
Technically, yes.
6 years?
6 years, technically, yeah.
Oh, technically. All right. What does that mean?
You're a lifer.
All right. Okay. Anyway, that is just my only other interest right now. I think that we ought to be looking for a first quarter 2021 meeting. We know that Sharon, by March 31st, we'll have the annual report done, which we're all waiting, just cannot wait to see. Meanwhile, if there's other stuff going on, for example, the work with the Sustainable Advisory Committee, and if there's anything that's interesting there, I think the other piece is we have to have the conversation about how do we touch on some of these issues like pay as you throw, save as you throw. However we talk about that, and other things that it could have disproportionate negative impacts on parts of our community. So those are seeds. If people want to chew on it, then we can think about it. Well, let's talk about it at the next meeting. Unless people are burning to talk about it right now, if there's a board member that wants to do something, I'm open to it, but I'm not forcing anything, not demanding it, not expecting it. Otherwise, who said that it's always a motion to adjourn is always appropriate? So if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion that we adjourn.
I'll second. That's Robert Deal.
Robert Deal seconded. Everybody needs to go through the list one at a time. Name and say yay or nay.
Demita Beck Taylor.
Yay.
Robert Deal. Well, we already got you. And Jennifer Hackett. Midori Lockett.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think Jeff ever made it back in. Beth Reardon.
Yes.
Jason Repsher.
Yes.
John Sherman.
I'm hearing a lot of yeses instead of yay. So let's do yay.
All right, and Michael Sullivan. We may have lost him.
I think we may have lost Michael. Yeah,
okay.
So.
All right. Well,
All right. Well, the motion to adjourn is passed. I thank you all. And if there's anybody who just wants to talk individually, but not about any board action per se, I'm happy to have that conversation. I don't think that's considered illegal unless we have something before us and we don't. So it's mostly I'm happy to chat. And Sharon is too. And we're going to post a bunch of good stuff, right? Wonderful. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.